"Get off my land before I have you arrested." That was the first thing she ever said to me. Voice cutting through the still morning air like it had somewhere else to be, sharp and impossible to ignore. Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of my own driveway, boots still caked with red dust from the road in, gripping the keys to my grandfather's old cabin, still warm in my hand, still echoing with everything he taught me about this place. And there she is, Lysandra Trent, wrapped in her light blue Armani suit, holding a clipboard like it's some kind of shield, hair so perfect you could see the reflection of the pines behind her. Pine needles swirl between us and the breeze, the kind of quiet you only get before a storm. Funny thing is, 3 hours earlier, I didn't own a single square foot of this land. Now, thanks to my grandfather Benedict's will, I'm supposedly the legal owner, and Lysandra, president of the Whispering Pines HOA for 13 years, is standing right in front of the old cedar siding, telling me I'm trespassing on what's been my family's retreat since 1947. The cabin's seen 78 winters, more than I'll ever see, and the mist rising off Pine Lake is so thick. It's like something out of a dream. Only, trust me, this is as real as it gets. The air is thick with pine resin and that cool, electric tension that comes right before thunder. If you've ever had the pleasure of meeting an HOA president who thinks they're royalty, you already know that tone. Like every word is a warning label. If not, well, buckle up, because it's about to get wild. Actually, do me a favor, drop a comment, let me know where you're watching from. I want to know if this HOA madness really is an American thing, or if folks around the world get wrangled into this kind of circus, too. Anyway, I'm Sterling Mathis, 37, and up until this exact morning, nobody ever accused me of making waves. My resume says environmental consultant, overseas mostly, minding my business, paying bills, flying under every radar in sight. What people don't know about me would fill an FBI file, but that's not today's story. Today, I'm just a guy who inherited his granddad's fishing cabin. At least that's what Lysandra thinks. I figure she clocked me for an easy mark, a pushover, someone she could steamroll with her board's fake authority and her best courtroom scowl. She's been running this lakefront community since Bush was president, ruling by intimidation, with enough emergencies and special assessments to keep everybody paying and scared. The way she says, "This is my neighborhood," I swear, you'd think she bought it off God himself. But the thing is, my inheritance looks rock solid. County records say the cabin was built in '47. Title is clear, and HOA jurisdiction supposedly stops with properties built after 1950. The only thing that isn't normal is the way Lysandra reacts to all that. I start unloading boxes from my truck, tracking mud through that old pine porch, breathing in the same air I grew up on. Then I hear it. A convoy of SUVs rumbling up the gravel, all of them wearing matching polos, HOA logo stitched. Where a soul should be. They fan out like they're raiding a bank. Lysandra steps out with her official folder and a speech that sounds practiced in the mirror. "Your grandfather was a stubborn old fool," she says, "and his debts to this community now belong to you." She's got receipts, so she claims, totaling $13,500 in back dues, dock violations, and, get this, aesthetic damages because the cedar siding looks too rustic. Says I've got 24 hours to pay, or she'll take legal action. I don't raise my voice, I just ask to see the original HOA charter, the actual jurisdiction map. And that's when her eye twitches. Just for a split second, but I see it. The kind of look people get when they're bluffing and you call them out. She powers through her spiel anyway. But the crack's there, running under the surface. Before I can push further, there's movement in the trees. Franklin Brewster, old ranger, 73, flannel shirt, boots like he's been hiking since sunrise, steps out of the shadows, looking half here, half somewhere else. "You hear the trees talking yet?" he asks, eyes all foggy. They've been whispering about buried treasure since the chemical spill. Lysandra nearly panics, barking at Franklin to head home, but he keeps muttering, coordinates, numbers, clues. It's the kind of interruption that can only be true or crazy, but the way Lysandra reacts, you know there's something to it. After she hustles her crew away, I can't shake Franklin's words. Back in the cabin, sunlight catches the dust, and for a moment, it's like my grandfather is still there, tools in the corner, fishhooks on the wall, The way the boards creak different in certain spots. And behind one of those boards, I find it. A cache of documents, maps, old photos, even chemical test results addressed to the EPA. Turns out, Benedict was fighting more than HOA fines. He was tracking contamination, soil and water tests, correspondence with lawyers who flat out rejected any HOA authority over this land. The evidence shows the cabins on land that's always been outside HOA reach, but more than that, it proves something dirty is leaching into the lake. When Lysandra returns, she's got county inspectors in tow. Only their gear looks like something from a hardware store, and their methods would make any real EPA agent laugh. I call her out, point by point, and her confidence slips. She tries to shut me down, but I know what I'm seeing, and so does she. As the sun sets, I'm dialing a secured line, talking to someone who calls me agent, and not Sterling. See, my consulting gig is just a cover. I'm federal, and this inheritance is a front for an ongoing environmental crime investigation. Franklin isn't just some harmless old man with memory problems. He's the only witness to a chemical dumping operation that's been poisoning Pine Lake for decades. His broken memory isn't natural. It's what happens when you survive. Exposure to the same toxins dumped into the lake and the woods. But buried in his rambling, in those numbers and half-remembered directions, is everything I need. 3 days of piecing together his clues, old barrels, GPS coordinates, stones marked on a pine tree. And I find it. A waterproof container, hidden where only someone who loved this land would know to look. Inside, photos, logs, test results, and recordings, everything to link Lysandra's family, Pierce Chemical Solutions, and a trail of bribes straight to the county courthouse. What's wild is, the HOA itself was built as a front to keep nosy neighbors out, to intimidate or run off anyone who might ask why so many kids here have asthma, or why the well water sometimes smells sweet. Franklin's medical records, subpoenaed, cross-checked, show he was deliberately poisoned, a living warning to anyone else. As I'm connecting these dots, my family reunion arrives. EPA, FBI, U.S. Marshals, all undercover, all here for the sting. At the emergency HOA meeting, Lysandra tries to rally the community one last time. She's got charts, fake test results, and a buyout offer for my cabin, at a fraction of its value. Her cronies are ready with seizure papers. But when I stand up, badge in hand, warrant in the other, everything flips. My neighbors flash their own credentials. The game's up. Every word of Lysandra's speech is evidence now. Residents realize the poison in their water isn't an accident. It's a crime. The fallout is massive. Lysandra and her crew hauled off in cuffs. The company dissolved, assets seized, corrupt officials exposed. Franklin finally getting treatment. His memory slowly returning. The land, the lake, even the air feels lighter. The pines are whispering again. But this time it's not warnings, it's hope. So here's the thing. Justice isn't just courtrooms and sentences. It's about restoring what was stolen, trust, health, a future. The bronze plaque by the dock says, "In memory of those who speak for the voiceless," and every morning, as Franklin and I watch the sun rise over water that runs clear, I remember what my grandfather really left me. Not just a cabin, not just a story, but a responsibility to fight for the people and places that can't fight for themselves. Now, I've got to ask, if it was your community, your land, your water on the line, what would you do? Tell me in the comments. Because this story isn't just mine. It's anybody's who's ever stood up when everyone else stayed quiet. Would you let them get away with it? Or would you fight for something better? Let's hear it. Because sometimes, the only way the trees can talk is through us.